So, John, what is your research about?
Well, in the long term, it's been concerned with heritage tourism generally, and centrally with the tourist historic city, which of course I wrote with Gregory Ashworth, and things that derive from that. Um, but I have had a particular interest in waterfront regeneration issues, largely within that context. And most particularly, my immediate focus of research interest is in naval heritage, which is primarily a waterfront affair, not entirely, and its value for tourism. And in my keynote presentation, I shall be alluding to this in respect of the places I've recently been researching, Malta, Gibraltar, and Bermuda.
And so, what is naval heritage?
Naval heritage, well, basically, fair question, it's and of course bearing in mind that heritage is what you say it is, and it's all intangible and so forth, as we were hearing from Gregory Ashworth recently. Basically, the heritage resources is the best way to put it, that derive from naval activity over the centuries. And the way that they can be used, well, the way that the resources, the physical structures primarily, can be reused for tourism purposes, primarily, although in some cases, like all heritage, they are susceptible to social or political uses, as well as making money out of tourism. How I became interested in this is a very good question. Academia is a serendipitous affair. I think probably 30 years ago, when I taught for a while at Portsmouth, when I first met Gregory Ashworth, I became interested in the heritage dimensions of the naval base there, which were already beginning to be exploited for tourism purposes. Also interested in the conflicts this created, because the Navy didn't want to move out as the heritage interpreters wanted to move in, and the conservationists wanted to move in. And so it became apparent that there was something of substance and of interest here, which had a visual appeal, a historical appeal to many people, and very strongly affected waterfronts and their potential for revitalisation. The naval heritage issue went on the back burner primarily while I was working on tourist historic city and dissident heritage and so forth. But it never completely died. Again, serendipity comes into it. I used to find myself taking my Canadian field groups of students down to Boston, which, along with Portsmouth, has one of the world's prime illustrations of a resource that can be used, and is being used in part for heritage tourism. The former naval dockyard, actually called the Charlestown Naval Dockyard, is partly turned over to national parks many years since. And some of the most interesting and nationally iconic heritage ships, USS Constitution particularly, moored there, and are a focus for national pride as well as tourism attraction, in much the same way as Victory is in Portsmouth. So we're talking about iconic vessels and the paraphernalia at the dockyards, and all the associations, some of which are very obviously intangible, but historic references to the figures, Lord Nelson and so forth, who played a major part in national development, national pride undoubtedly, but also, often by virtue of that, are attractive to tourists. Waterfronts are fun places if they have historic ships, particularly naval vessels with some proud past association, then they're the more interesting, and they can be very easily become honeypots for soaking up tourists. That's mixing metaphors, but you know what I mean. Okay. And this has become my principal, but not my sole interest, because everything tends to connect with everything else, of course. It's certainly an issue within the tourist historic city context that touches many other things. One of the particular aspects of it, which is academically very important, is the way in which the smaller environments, like Bermuda, Malta, Gibraltar, are very actively engaged in blue tourism.
Blue tourism?
Sun, sea and sand stuff, and all that goes with it. But all of them are densely populated areas. They don't have much in the way of beach facilities. They're all, therefore very urgently looking for heritage tourism resources. And the naval heritage is a resource, is one that shouts at you in all of these places as one that could be exploited. And is being exploited to some extent in all three, but as I shall hopefully say on Friday, it's a problematical process. But where I go from here, who knows?
And a more general question, what fascinates you about your subject, about the research that you do? How come that you became interested in this?
Well, good point. I suppose I've always been interested in historic ships from childhood. I think of a colleague back in Canada who became an economic geographer because he was fascinated with railway trains and model train sets as a child. I think I had a similar childhood fascination with ships, particularly naval vessels, which, given fertile academic circumstances like going to Portsmouth, connected with, linked together and gave me something of a focus of enduring interest. So, of course, the academic profession is, for all its warts, and it's got many, one of its most positive aspects is the way in which it allows serendipity, circumstance, if you will, to lead you forward, to give you considerable freedom to pursue that which you're inspired to pursue. How far I shall take this, where it's all going, who knows? I think you only know when you've got there. But since I'm now involved with a group of like-minded people in the Naval Dockyard Society, based in Portsmouth, I quite expect it to keep me busy for a long time.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
That's been it.